Hey guys, it's Gawain, and today we're going to be taking a look at the defense's queen of intel, Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a 2-speed 2-armor defense operator that specializes in intel gathering. Valkyrie has a very powerful primary gadget that allows her to gather intel on the enemy without them noticing, as well as a great secondary gadget and good guns. Good Valkyrie players will gather info on the enemy and then react upon it themselves. Let's learn how to play her. Valkyrie is equipped with her covert cams, of which she gets 3. These are small, black, wireless cameras that Valkyrie throws to deploy. When a defender is on one of these cameras, there is an LED ring that lights up in whatever colour the player looking at it has their team colours setting set to. This light is meant to make the camera easier to spot for the attackers, so be aware of that when operating the camera. Speaking of operating your cameras, there are a few ground rules you need to understand when playing as or with a Valk. First off, never red ping on a Valk cam unless you actively want it to get shot out because, as I'm sure you all know, red pinging alerts the enemy to the camera's presence, so it will trigger the enemy to start hunting down the black eye you're controlling. As a follow-up to this point, use the yellow ping feature as much as possible to keep a live update on an enemy's position whilst keeping them completely unaware in most scenarios that there is a camera there at all. The final ground rule is use your mic to communicate to your team about the enemy's position or incoming drones and utility. Just yellow pinging isn't enough. If you don't call out as well as ping, your teammate won't know what you're pinging and may not even notice the ping at all. Placement is the most important thing when it comes to setting up good Valkyrie cameras. Ideally, you want it in a place where the enemies aren't going to look naturally, so either conceal it or put it behind them so when they enter the room they don't see it at all. Common yet simple and effective spots include corners of rooms on the ceiling around sight and one insight. As a general rule of thumb you can follow with Valk, but obviously you don't have to, is placing one cam inside of sight to watch either the most commonly planted on sight or both rooms if you can, and then using your other 2 cameras in rooms around sight. If you have an Echo, Maestro or Bulletproof cameras in sight already, use all 3 of your cameras outside of sight instead, as there's no point in stacking 2 cams on top of one another just so they can watch the exact same thing. If you're doing more of a basic placement by putting a cam in the corner of a room, place it on the ceiling rather than the walls so that your cam can move freely and ping the attacker's positions exactly, as placing your cams on the walls limits their pivot slightly. This being said, try to get as creative as possible with your cams to keep the enemies on their toes as to where your cams might be. Hiding your covert cams underneath desks, amongst plants, inside gaps in ceilings where cables may be running through are all good placements, despite your vision being slightly more limited. I personally like to have my vision on a Valk cam as unobstructed as possible, but sometimes you just have to suck up the blockage just to keep the cam alive a little bit longer. You can throw your cams outside too, but they will only stay active for 10 seconds before being unusable, so it can be good for a run out or 2, but it's generally better to keep them inside of the building as you get more value out of it. Pay attention to some of the spots I use in this video as they may open your eyes to finding more spots of your own. To summarize, you should never use red ping on a Valk cam and always use yellow ping combined with your mic to communicate the info you gather on your cams. Place one inside sight if you don't already have cams inside, and the 2 others in rooms surrounding or above or maybe below sight that are commonly pushed by attackers. Valkyrie's primary weapon options are the MPX submachine gun and the Spaz 12 shotgun. Her secondary weapon is the D50 as she has no other options available to her. I personally run the MPX paired with the D50 of course. The MPX is an average SMG with nothing really special going for it, but it's an easy to use and quite reliable SMG. It's got a pretty weak damage stat of 26 but a good fire rate of 830 rounds per minute. It's also got very low recoil, making getting headshots very easy if you have the right crosshair placement and aim for it. You do only have access to 1-time scopes, but I don't really think I've ever found that I needed a 1.5 on it, nor do I expect Valk to get one anytime soon. It's a reliable SMG that complements the power of Valk's Gadget quite well. As for attachments, run anything you want. I personally go for the vertical grip paired with the extended barrel for a little extra damage and recoil reduction too. The Spaz 12 is a good shotgun that can suit Valkyrie's playstyle quite well, well as it has an alright damage stat and an alright semi-automatic fire rate. Whilst it has a limited mag size, the spread makes it very easy to kill enemies with only a couple shells at the most. This shotgun pairs well with Valkyrie's cameras as you can play below the room your camera is in and floor bang any enemies you ping with the shotgun a lot easier than you can with the MPX. As for the D50, aka the Deagle, it's basically a hand cannon as it has increased soft destruction to help you get your cams into more creative locations, as well as packing a significant punch. It's definitely a great addition to the Valk's kit. In terms of secondary gadgets, you have access to a singular nitro cell or 2 impact grenades. The nitro cell is the best option by far, so I strongly recommend running the C4 over the impacts. You can combo your covert cams and the C4 very easily by preventing plants in sight and pinging the enemy planting, or just C4ing people from below by utilizing your cameras. It's a very common strat to have a camera watching a high traffic soft floor and either having a pre-placed C4 below or throwing a C4 there to kill the enemies that walk over it. Other than that, the C4 is just generally great for getting the odd pick or two for almost free. As for impact grenades, they can work well with Valk's kit, but they're generally worse than the C4 with what you're going to be using them for. You can impact the floor below a planting attacker to cancel their plant animation, but why not just bring the C4 to kill them rather than giving them another chance to plant on a surface where they can't be touched from below? Run the nitro cell, it's part of Valk's identity. The most important part of the prep phase is the beginning, as this is when no drones are in the building, so you can put down your cameras without them getting spotted by the enemy. Use your deagle to make holes in surfaces to throw your cams into or through to get better spots. The worst part about playing Valk is when you place down an irretrievable cam and a drone spots you throwing it, so make sure there are no drones around when placing your cams. Go where you plan on playing in the action phase and get on the outside cams to see where the enemies spawn. To start off the action phase, check where the attackers have spawned and communicate that back to your team before adjusting your black eyes to watch what you want them to. It's an important thing to adjust your cams because if you don't, you'll get on them and they'll be pointing somewhere that isn't useful, so doing this at the start of the round allows you to just flick through them later on when time is running out. Keep flicking through all the cams until you locate an enemy or two that you can flank and sneak up on for an easy kill. If you can, ping them with your yellow ping from your covert cam and wallbang them, otherwise just shoot them in the back. After that, you want to run off again if there are no other enemies in the immediate vicinity so you can play below for the plant denial. When you see an attacker trying to plant the diffuser, blow them up from below with your nitro cell. Next, rotate up after checking your cams once again to pick off the last remaining defenders to win the round. It's also worth noting that if you die during the action phase, you want to get on your cams and call out for your team because you can still get value out of your gadget even if you're dead. Valkyrie has a few counters: IQ, Twitch, Zero, Brava, Dokkaebi, Nook, EMPs, bullets, and explosives. IQ can detect your cameras with her scanner, making her your biggest counter, as she can go around the map and take them out with ease. To prevent this, hunt down the IQ and kill her before she can shoot out all of your cams. Twitch and Zero both have lasers on their gadgets that allow them to shoot out your cameras from safety. To prevent this, either hide your cameras better or shoot out their gadgets before they can zap your cams. Brava can hack your cameras and take control of them so you can't use them, but she can. Preventing this is the same as preventing Twitch and Zero from destroying your cams. Dokkaebi can call you and kick you off your cams and hack into them so she can use them too. There isn't much you can do about these apart from killing the Dokkaebi. Nook can sneak past your cameras with her gadget activated. There's nothing you can do about this, just be cautious when roaming. If you know there's a Nook on the borders, she can sneak up on you very easily. EMPs will disable your cameras so you can't access your feeds. There's nothing to worry about with these really, as long as they're out of the way of main breach, your cams won't get hit by EMPs ever. Bullets and explosives will destroy your cams very quickly, bullets being the main threat. To prevent this, hide your cams in better positions. Place 2 of your cams at a minimum outside in high traffic areas so you can gather intel on the enemy's position for an easier flank later in the action phase. Use the MPX for a reliable SMG that's easy to control at all ranges so you can act upon the intel your covert cams gather. Learn creative places to hide your cams from the enemy so they are near impossible to find without an IQ. Use the nitro cell to secure kills vertically and on enemies that are planting, but combine your cams with it too. Learn how to roam with Valk. It can be tricky at first to find the balance between being on your cams and moving around the map, so my advice is to hide in a safe location, find the enemy on a cam, and then flank them. Overall, Valkyrie is a medium to hard operator to play, as balancing using her cams and roaming can be tricky for new players. She's got a decently high skill floor, but an insanely high skill ceiling, so I think everyone should add Valk to their roster of operators they can play. Learn good camera positions, when to get on and off your cams, how to roam with Valk's intel available to you, and you're sure to become a pretty decent Valkyrie player. Thank you all for watching, I do hope you enjoyed. If you found this guide helpful in any way, shape or form, please do consider subscribing and sharing it with your friends, as it does really help grow the channel, and we are very close to 1,000 subscribers. As always, all of the clips you saw in this video were taken from my Twitch stream, link will be on screen and in the description. Zafir will be next for the Siege series, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.